Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the third link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world. Episode 605. Welcome to All in the Tree Tuesdays with Dave D, Vibrant Viridis in the building tonight. It's going to be one for the books. We're going to be talking heavily on some designer Green Tree Python history. And of course, with me tonight, the one and only Bill Stiegel and fucking Marshall just came in right now. Like, right, like
dude, where was the link? I tried the link last week. It didn't work.
Okay, Bill, that's why Bill's here, right?
I don't know.
The link from last week is not going to work, Marshall. You are correct.
Did you send text? I didn't get one today.
Oh no, just stop. Okay.
I'm serious.
Well, how did you get it then? Why are you here if you didn't get the link?
Because MJ just had to send it to me.
Oh, all right.
Seriously.
I got it an hour ago, like normal.
In our group text that we have every week. It's right there.
I didn't get it, but regardless,
we're happy you're here.
It's nice to see you guys.
Yeah, it's good. It's always a pleasure to see you, Marshall. How's your? Let's get to you. How's your week going, buddy?
You know, it's going all right. No complaints. Got ended up with eight babies from one clutch and 14 from the other. So pretty happy about that. They're all set up in their individual tubs now, and just waiting for them to shed. So
22. You're excited, huh? You broke 20. That's good, man.
Yeah. I tried to make a half-assed attempt to feed them all, and like after the 10th one with no success, I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna wait like usual. So I didn't spend a whole bunch of time. I didn't want to stress them out or anything. So mess with them for a couple. Just wanted to see if any would take it immediately, and none of them did. So who knows if that's a foreshadowing of things to come or not, but we'll see.
We should bring Aiden Bradley back on here and tell us what he does with his techniques. He posted his neonate that he hatched out going into its first shed, and it already had 3 meals. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
What? Oh wow.
Yeah, 3 meals before going into its first shed. But anyways, are we gonna spill any beans tonight on anything, Marshall, or we want to wait? It's up to you, because you know me, my mouth is open, ready to go. Pause, but I'm just saying. No. Should we wait?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can wait.
Fuckers gotta all wait. Sorry. Cool. Other than that, your albino's doing great. Just always needing an update. I know it shed after Southeast Reptile Expo, and everything's good with that, right? No perch still.
Yeah, it looks great. Got it moved up into a bigger tub to make room for these babies, and nice. Still haven't given it a perch back, but
perch that bad. Come on, man.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it 6 months.
6 months. I've never heard that long.
Ever. It's not hurting it right now, so
can't hurt.
As long as
give it 6 months. Yeah, it's not hurting anything. It's just as big as the other ones, and it's doing great. Really into OCC now. Lightened up quite a bit after that last shed, and
all right.
Yeah, putting on some size.
Now, speaking of size, Bill's definitely increased his egg numbers in his incubator right now. We were talking a little bit. You have 3 clutches that are currently in the incubator, right, Bill?
Yeah, 3 here, and then the clutch up at Buddy's is still cooking along well. So I'm guarded. I've got eggs in new incubation boxes that I'm not familiar with. So they look good so far. Absolutely no ventilation still at this point. Totally sealed in. Vent holes are covered. Humidity's 99%. Temps holding great at 87.5. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, as much it's, we like to put the nerves on hold with anytime it's like whenever you're doing something new, you're like, what the fuck? Wonder what this outcome is going to be. But I have a good feeling about it. I really do, Bill. So
I to be honest, I do too. They look good, and these boxes have a history of being successful with other keepers. So I'm optimistic, but it's going to be a long 49, 50 days.
So when's your what clutches due next? Like how many days away from we from your next clutch being due, Bill?
I think I'm about halfway through the next clutch, incubation wise. So
okay. It's creeping.
Yeah, we're getting there. I lost 1 egg early. 16 egg clutch is now 15, but cool. That's puts me at a total of 37 here, and then the 15 up at Buddy's, and a couple more girls that are Gravid and waiting to lay, and a couple others still pairing. So we'll see. Right.
Good deal. I'm excited for tonight's guest. But before we get to tonight's guest, don't forget that Trap Talk Reptile Network is 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. You can listen to a lot of these episodes, if not all episodes, on all major audio platforms, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So please, wherever you listen to Trap Talk Reptile Network, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for all the support. Tonight's sponsor is the Reptile Breeder Show, happening this Saturday in downtown Los Angeles. 2nd annual Reptile Breeder Show. I will be pulling up for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the same vendors that were there last year. Really, really cool crowd. And looking forward to tapping in with the Bomb Project family and all the other vendors, like I said. So you got to tap in if you're in the SoCal area. Go to reptilebreedershow.com. It's only $10 to get your ticket. And it's an awesome show. Okay. Shout out to KG and D. Looking forward to pulling up. And again, that's a Reptile Breeder Show happening this Saturday, March 1st, downtown Los Angeles. You go to info@reptilebreedershow.com for any questions. And yeah, man, shout out to everyone who's pulling up to the show this Saturday, because I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Blake Exotic Feeders, #1 quail in the game. Homegrown quail straight to your doorstep, okay? Blake's doing it the best when it comes to the highest quality of quail that he's producing on his property, anywhere from button quail to extra large quail. And my freezer stays correct because of Blake. So thank you so much, Blake. Again, Blake Exotic Feeders. Head over to his Instagram. Shoot him a message. Let him know the trap sent you, and he'll take extra good care of you. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Gary Scavino, GS Reptiles. Please head over to his YouTube, subscribe, be ready for this man's next vlog that drops periodically. But, Gary's one of the best putting information out there that help people get to that next level in the reptile world. So thank you for everything that you do, GS Reptiles. Also, check him out on Instagram as well. And, yeah, Gary Scavino, man, definitely an OG, one of the best in the game. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Texas Chondros, Mark Hager, putting Texas on the map and also putting himself on the map. Big projects over at Texas Chondros. Go to his website, texaschondros.com. See a lot of the pairings that he has going on this year. And you can simply follow him on IG. Very active on IG, TX Chondros on Instagram. So thank you so much, Mark, for your ongoing support. Last but not least, shout out to Brian Susan. If you want true, high-quality captive reptiles, then this is your man right here when it comes to tree monitors, Abronia, high-end Kahua geckos, all sorts of amazing stuff from Brian Susan. Go over to his Instagram, Sundown Reptiles on IG, and you can just go to his website also, sundownreptiles.com. All the links in the description below. And again, boys, I don't know. Marshall and I were on our way to the Southeast Reptile Expo. I guess we were kind of like going back and forth, right, Marshall? Wondering who we haven't had on. You said Ryan, but we've had Ryan on. I'd confirm that. So we did have Ryan on a Tuesday night, but we didn't have Dave.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had Dave. Now, I've had Bill on for Dave. I think we had an elite chondro talk. It was just me, Bill, and Dave, but this is going to be Dave D's first Tuesday night. So what do you know of Dave D, Marshall? Let's hear it from you.
I've known Dave for a while. Yeah, I've known him since, I'm pretty sure since, not long after he got into it, which I remember exactly when that was, 10 plus years ago for sure. Feels like. And then, yeah, man, he's got like, cream of the crop, best of the best. His Instagram is really awesome. It's got like the whole page flows well, every snake in the same light and same, he's a meticulous guy, and it shows in the snakes.
Yeah, literally. What do you have to say about tonight's guest, Bill?
Like Marshall, I've known Dave a very long time. He visited my old place in Arlington now probably 10, 12 years ago at least. We see him at Tinley, all the time. He's a pretty regular attendee at Tinley, so we get to catch up and see him there. But I haven't spoken with him in quite a while, and I didn't realize he had not been on All in the Tree Tuesdays before.
Yeah, and I've had him on Trop Talk a handful of times, but never on a Tuesday night. So definitely, and there's a few others that we're missing, so which is good. But I'm looking forward to having Dave on. Biggest thing I recall of Dave is that probably one of the most epic Tinleys is when we were all there. It was me, you, us three, Gary, Tim from LA, Dave D, Rob. The list goes on. I'll never forget that. Irby was there. Dude, man, there was a lot of hitters there that night. And I'll never forget, being in my room hammered as shit. And I'm just looking at that picture and I'm like, dude, this is going to be a legendary picture someday. So yeah, that definitely one of the best Tinleys I ever had was that night for sure. But like Marshall says, Dave D, what a catalog, man. Like it's like looking at a museum. You know what I mean? It's like everything that he has, it's real fucking living art. It's no joke. So you guys are all in for a treat. You guys bring them on or what?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Guys, Marshall or Bill, are you ready? I didn't hear any excitement from you at all. You were fucking said nothing.
I'm doing my Dave D impression. I'm super, super excited right now.
All right, guys, do me a favor. Do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to stay hydrated. Episode 605. Dave D on the Trade Tuesday. Let's go. Choo.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, God, love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
And we're live, episode 605 with Dave D. Very first On the Tree Tuesday. What's up, Dave?
Hi, guys.
Okay. What's up?
What's up?
I'm going to talk with my hands a lot so Bill can feel the excitement.
I look forward to it. I had to poke you a little bit.
Now I'm thinking, I was like, I talk with my hands a lot. What are you saying, Dave? Like, what do you...
I just have to be more expressive, you know?
Dude, Dave, welcome to Tuesday night here. I'm excited to have you, bro. Listen, you're here for a reason. Admire your work. Always admire the years you put in with what you show on your page and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like one of the things that I feel like we could talk more about is like the history behind a lot of the designer lines that are out there. I like to just kind of have a refresher with you as far as like, the why you chose the direction that you're, currently in and all that. And just the first designer line that you got. If we could just kind of take things back a little bit down memory lane with all the potent stuff that you have. Like, what was that first designer line, and why you chose it, and how you came across it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I had been on MVF for a couple months. I don't remember exactly how long, but I got my first chondro in 2012, and there was a breeder back then named Greg Stevens.
Yes,
he was probably second after Rico in terms of quantity of chondros. I would guess he had 80 or so, I think. And
a king for sure.
Yeah, he had a pretty sweet setup, but he posted a couple of yearlings that had a lot of black. I believe they were from a blue line Aru bred to a blue line Maruki. And when you incorporate some of those southern types into blue line and then breed them back, you get a lot of melanism. So he posted a female, and that was my first chondro. It was a designer. I've never had a locality chondro.
Wow.
Was that animal you got changed, or was it a red Neo?
It was changed. I don't remember exactly how old it was, between a year and 18 months, probably.
So I'm curious, Dave, the MVF, how did you even stumble across the MVF? Like, I just felt like that was like such a little like private world in its own. And, you know, who put you onto that?
I've just found it on Google. So I kept snakes as a kid until I was about 22, and then I sold all of them. And then I got back into chondros. I think I was 27. And I got back into snakes when I was 27, and I saw a post for rough-scaled pythons that Bushmaster was selling on King Snake. And I thought, holy shit, I can't believe he's selling these things. I remember seeing the Mark O'Shea show where they went on an expedition to find a few of them so they could start the captive population. So I bought those. I live in Denver, and Cam at Bushmaster is up in Boulder, so it was only 45 minutes away, but I call him and he's like, I don't know. Do you have any references? And I said, no, I don't really know anyone, but I bought some snakes from Pro Exotics back in the day. And he's like, okay. So anyway, I bought those. I ended up getting 2 pairs of those. And then I wanted to research them. There's not a lot of information about rough-scaled pythons even now, but I knew that green trees were the closest relative. So just searching that, I found the MVF. And at first, I didn't even realize I couldn't tell if it was an active site, just because the colors it just looked dated, even 13 years ago. And I think there were basically 2 pages. There was the forum page and then the for sale page, and then a couple of miscellaneous bullshit.
Back in the day, the MVF was, the place to be. It was really the only way that that's how I got introduced to chondros, was the MVF as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, the MVF was it.
I don't think it was ever updated from like the first time it came out. Like the cover picture, the forum cover picture was like this Photoshop that Greg Schrader had done of like, I don't know, 20 different chondros, and it never changed. It was stayed.
That site is still active. Buddy sent me a link maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I was interested in researching skin folds in chondros. And so I asked Buddy, and he sent me a link. So the MVF is still, I don't know if I guess it's not active. I don't know if people are participating, but the, all the old articles and all the old threads are still there, or at least they were a few months ago.
Did it look different, or does it still look the same?
No, it looks even worse.
It's worse. They converted it to Yuku.
Yeah, Yuku. That's what
so it's a little bit fucked up, but it's more or less the same.
Wow.
Still a lot of great information there. I mean,
yeah. Now it's funny, with the whole mentioning Pro Exotics, I don't think that would have went down with Cam if he didn't mention Chad's company.
yeah, they're pretty good friends.
Yeah, they're like best friends. They've been at each other's weddings and all sorts of stuff. So
yeah,
I think that was like definitely a godsend, because definitely Cam's always, I don't know the guy, but always seems like he's a private dude.
He's cautious.
Yeah, so it was crazy how like that was your Hail Mary, is like bringing up Pro Exotics, and it fucking came through. So and it just opened up the floodgates. Now, what were you seeing on the MVF? Okay, obviously you talked about the southerner type locality stuff is what, or not locality, but it was southern cross locality pairings that you got your hands on, right? Or what was the
It was blue line with Aru and Maruki mixed in.
That's what it was. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, Dave, where'd you go from there? Okay, so you got your first designer snake. Did you have ambitions right away to breed another designer, or did you just kind of like sit back and just kind of, I guess absorb and marinate what you're keeping and stuff like that? I'm just wondering how quick you got the next one.
It didn't take long. I don't know how many I had the first year, probably 10 or a dozen. I think Marshall was one of the first ones. My second chondro came from Ridge Culver, but Marshall may very well have been the third.
Yeah, I remember you bought it at Tinley. I was vending at Tinley, and you bought a baby, right?
Wow,
that was a different one.
Yeah, because you had the 3 clutches from OB Junior in 2012.
Right.
I can't remember. One of them was a Wamena female. One of them, you had one that had a little bit of calico in her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you had a holdback female that had a lot of melanism, so I got an unchanged.
Oh, yeah. It was already color changed. Yep. I remember that one.
And then you had the third clutch. I think it was only 4 babies, and that's the one I picked up from you at Tinley.
Okay.
And I'm curious, how young was the snakes that you were getting your first year? I mean, was it kind of random, or was it like you're just focusing on young babies?
Well, the first one was changed, and then I wish I could remember. It was probably about 50-50 unchanged, and then I got some yearlings from Christian Stewart that were changed, and yeah, I don't know. It's all kind of a blur the first few years. I got some adults. Probably not that first year, but I got some adults.
When did you produce your first clutch, Dave? Do you remember approximately? Probably not too much long after that, after 2012 or 2012, yeah.
2015.
Damn.
Okay.
Only 3. Well, yeah, like about 3 years.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Dave, you kind of seem to me like John Irby, like you don't post a lot of stuff that's going on until it's like already happened. Like just
Dave doesn't post until it's color changed.
Yeah, I've been posting less because I don't like any pressure to sell these things.
Yeah.
So I have snakes that I hatched last year that I haven't even put the clutch on my website, just because I don't know, people are good at picking at you and being like, when are you going to have something for sale? And I just don't want to.
Oh, I'm sure it's getting worse right now too, with all the ball python people getting in. Like they're very fucking very bold and like will throw money at you big time. You know what I mean? Is that why you feel like that's the pressure? Because like they're willing to pay stupid amounts with you, and it's kind of like almost like you'd be a dumbass not to fucking sell that snake? Or is that the pressure you're kind of feeling? Or what do you mean by pressure?
No, it's just that I don't want to commit to selling a snake before I have decided I'm ready to sell that snake. Because I'll tell people will ask me and they'll be like, are you going to have anything for sale soon? It's like, yeah, I will, but I don't know which ones they are. And I'm not going to put you on a list, and I'm not going to let you know when I have them available. And I don't know how much they're going to be because I don't know which ones are going to be for sale.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably another reason too why they're on your bumper so quick, because they know obviously you can't really predict where a lot of these are headed, even though with your experience you have a good idea. I forgot what episode it was. Me and Bill and Marsh were talking about how I guess like the purple roll dark ones, you can't really guarantee nothing with those, which is still fucking crazy to me. I don't like to believe that, but Bill's seen it, Marshall's seen it. Have you seen it, Dave? Have you seen like a really dark maroon neonate that you're like, I'm keeping this one, and it just became something not what you expected?
Yeah, I've seen whole. Not for me necessarily, but I've seen people who have produced entire clutches of crazy looking babies, and they all turned out more or less just plain green.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you can't tell for sure.
When was the last time you sold an animal, Dave?
I sold some last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the sales, the high-end sales, they really go unnoticed. They just when people are super selective about who they sell to, and very limited number of animals, then it seems like a lot of them go really just unnoticed, especially coming from you and Irby.
Yeah, and if you've dealt with people before and you know that they're not going to be a pain in your ass and that sort of thing, they're just going to send you the money, and they're not going to take good care of the snake.
Yeah,
they kind of have priority.
no doubt.
Yeah. I'm curious, Dave, you know, kind of going back to like your first year breeding. What did you have pressure as far as like pairing them, or did you just like kind of just say, fuck it, whatever happens, happens? Like, how'd you feel about pairing them after only 3 years of keeping them?
I didn't feel too much pressure. I don't remember how many pairs I tried the first year. It might have just been one, but they're basically my two nicest snakes. And then I got a clutch, and they hatched. And I remember a couple people on Facebook were being passive aggressive in the comments and saying, "Oh, it's weird that you don't even that." I'm trying to remember what they said exactly, but one of them was saying to the other something about, "Don't you always get a picture of a pair at least cuddling when you get a clutch?" I guess implying that I was lying about these baby parents of my snakes that I hatched, but most of them turned blue, so I just didn't want to disturb them. I was so excited to see them locked, and I had vision cages, so I didn't want to slide the glass. I don't know, but
it's hard to do that, you know, because you don't, like you said, you don't. I have certainly done it where I've slid that glass open to take a picture, and all of a sudden, you know, it disturbs them, and 5 minutes later they're unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get pictures now. I'm experienced, but I understand that's not a big deal. I just didn't want to disturb them, and then I had these guys implying that I was dishonest.
Yeah, buying a bunch of imports and then import babies and then selling them as, you know, super high-end designers. Yeah, I can see that's right up your alley, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, when nobody knows who the hell Dave is, you know, like I guess it's kind of I mean, for anyone out there who's just coming into the game, I feel like you should have all this documentation because people will question you for sure. It's kind of like the norm, you guys would say nowadays, where people easily show you the pairings, the locks, the babies. Like, it's kind of like the whole like having invoices and shit like that. Especially nowadays, like it's, you know, especially how Bill lets things go, and like, you know, he got a whole lineage chart, and you know, and then if there's any questions or anything, like Bill's there for it. And it's just kind of like the part of what we do. But now, Dave, think about the name you've built. Nobody's questioning shit that you're producing. I'll tell you that much. Are people still stressing you for photos? I guess they do if they're paying that much money.
Oh, I put all that stuff on my website. And for that first clutch, I had a picture of the female on eggs. So obviously she was the mother. And then I had a picture of her ovulating. So I guess they implied that the male that I used may or may not have been the one that actually sired the clutch.
Well, that's an easy weed out process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They're both gone. So,
I mean, remind me how the first year went for you, Dave. Was it kind of like, you know, goods and bads, all bads? Just refresh us as far as how the first year went for you breeding your designer stuff.
it was pretty smooth sailing. She laid 15 fertile eggs. 13 of them hatched. I think 2 were DOA, and then I got 12 established. So I thought,
what snake is that? What female was that from?
she was from Sky and Topaz from Brass Jungle Arboreals.
Yeah. Okay.
And I brought her to a blue male from Rico.
BJA, that's a name from the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's that name again? Remind me the name.
Brass Jungle Arboreals.
What was this history? What's the history with that name?
There was a couple in Florida. Brad Johnson.
Cassie.
Cassie, Cassandra. I never interacted with them. They split up, but they had a male named Sky, who was from Mr. Blue in Carolina. That was one of the early, very blue clutches. And they bred Sky to a few different females and got some really nice stuff.
Sky's not Sky Topaz, right? That's a separate snake, or is that the same snake?
That's the breeding, right?
That's the male bred
pairing.
to. That's the snake. Yeah, that's the female he bred with was named Topaz.
That's what that was. Okay, I wasn't sure. I know the first time I ever heard these names came from SOC.
Yeah,
I mean, the first time I ever even like started, because mind you, like I came into this game, no money, like designer, having a designer chondro was like always out the picture for me. There's no way in hell, I always told myself. So I didn't really even like bother window shopping for something I couldn't afford until I became friends with Socrates. And then I had like finally a close enough friend who was just buying these fucking crazy things and putting me on game. And I'll never forget when he told me how he bought those 2 crazy snakes from you, Dave, via email. It all happened via email. I'll never forget. It was all like part of the, because you have an email wait list or an email blast that you do, right? When anything's available. That's how you do that, Dave? Correct me if I'm wrong when it comes to selling a snake.
Yeah, normally.
Yeah. And then that's when he's breaking down Lineage. And he was telling me all these names. And so it's always hard to like remember, was that the pairing or is that the full name? You know what I mean? And so I remember hearing Zeus. Is Zeus a part of any of the stuff that you have going on? Because I know that's been an important name in the deep Lineage history charts.
So my really blue male is Zeus's brother.
Got it. Damn.
Who produced Zeus? Dave?
Frank, right?
Rico.
Oh, Rico. Oh,
Rico.
Okay. And Zeus always was with Rico, or did he go to another collection?
Brian Collins bought Zeus from Rico when Rico had cancer. And then Brian and Frank are buddies, so I think Brian loaned him to Frank.
Yeah, it took him a while to produce that male. I think Brian didn't have success. He sent him to Frank, and then Frank was the one that ultimately produced with Zeus. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. One of Sock's craziest fucking snakes that I'm obsessed with is a Zeus baby, I think. I mean, it's one of his craziest males, and it's a Zeus baby. And I don't know. Like I've seen snakes like that as a baby. I don't know how. I guess they could turn green, but if I had something like that, but I guess it all matters on the parents, right, Dave? Like, I guess if you're looking at a really crazy dark Neo, it really depends on the lineage chart that it comes from, or even then, it's like unpredictable.
Well, I think the more of those factors you can stack up, the better your odds will be of getting a crazy looking baby. You want the parents to be whatever color, and their parents, and the parents' siblings, and
when you have 2, blue parents from potent bloodline, it's more unusual to get a non-blue, animal out of that clutch. At least what I've seen. I don't work a lot with blue to blue, but from a lot of the high-end clutches that I've seen, you breed a crazy blue male to a crazy blue female, you're going to get a lot of blue animals in the clutch. That's been your experience, right, Dave?
Yeah, 50% are better probably. Some of them will be green, and sometimes I think I can think of one clutch at least where only 1 out of 6 was blue.
Have you seen Dave those non-blue animals go on to produce blue animals?
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. Brass Jungle Arboreals had a clutch where they produced a female named Godiva.
Yeah, I know.
And they bred Sky to a was it bluebird grasshopper female, I believe. Yeah. And they got several blue snakes. And then Rico they called it the Godiva repeat clutch. So he had siblings to both of those snakes that Brass Jungle Arboreals bred, but Rico's adults weren't as blue. And he got a couple blue snakes, but it wasn't the same because the parents weren't as nice, would be my guess. So that's kind of a good example of why paying attention to the parents matters. Yeah,
and I've talked to a lot of people coming into the Green Tree Python game, and they have kind of the assumption where like, oh shit, like if I pay X amount of dollars for this designer Green Tree Python and it turns green, I'm fucked. I'm like, you're not fucked. Like you still have the blood in that snake. Like, regardless of it turning a different direction, getting that snake to the point of breeding and putting something else that has any kind of potency in it, like you're still going to get something crazy from a green looking snake. I mean, these all came from green snakes, right? Like, are we talking about stuff that were green produced back into another green locality and it came out crazy? Like that's how it all started, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that you're new to chondros and you're coming from ball pythons, yes, you buy first. So you buy the snake, right? And you buy it as a baby, you'll say, and you raise it up, and it doesn't turn into something super crazy. Then you have to breed. Then you have to wait for it to breed. Then you've got to basically get those babies, and you've got to raise them up before you see the fruit of what, before you see what you're looking for. And you're coming from a world in ball pythons where it's just like instant gratification almost. As soon as the snake hatches, like, you know what it is, right? There's not this 8 years of waiting in the meantime.
Well, the other thing is that it can take a long time for a blue line animal to turn blue. I mean,
Right.
I've had animals that looked green until they were 4 or 5 years old, and then all of a sudden they turn blue. So it can take a long time. That hasn't been my experience with melanistic stuff. Melanistic stuff tends to turn quicker, but the blue line stuff can take a while before you really know what you have.
But don't you think that like the most intense blues, those go blue right away?
Yeah, like a super, those are super blues.
Yeah, I've had a lot that were blue by 18 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, MJ, if you bought, first of all, if you want to produce whatever color, I would get your babies from nice parents. So even if you get a green snake, they're pretty close to those extreme colors. And then let's say you get 2 of those, you want to breed them together. You don't want to breed them to a Maruki or something. You're just going to get a bunch of green bullshit. And then once you get that clutch, you're probably only going to have a couple winners. So you need to hold the whole clutch back. And that's kind of the backdoor way into getting a crazy snake. You got to make it yourself.
Right.
We just lost Ryan Young right now. Just suck him up. No, because
listen, Dave is exactly right. I mean, until you start producing your own, unless you just, pay crazy ass money for changed animals, you're not really going to have a strong foundation unless you start producing your own.
Yeah. I don't know, Dave, do people kind of ask for guarantees sometimes when it comes to them spending like top dollar with you? Like, and I'm talking about maybe the ones who are unfamiliar with the process. Then they're like, all right, like, I want my snake to look like the parents. You know what I mean? Can you guarantee that? Like, how do you respond to something like that when someone comes to you with that kind of concern?
I've only sold unchanged or changed snakes, so they can tell more or less what they look like.
Dude, I forgot. Oh my God, I forgot that's what you do. You wait until like well into, which is like what, 2 years? About a year, you would say?
It depends. Like Bill said, some of them change more quickly than others. Between a year and 2 years.
Damn. Bill, can you ever imagine, like, okay, let's say you clear 100 Neos, but then the rule is cannot sell any of them until they hit OCC, like well into it. What would you do with that, Bill? I mean, I feel like if you are willing to wait, isn't that almost better for you, Bill, in a sense? Like, or not?
It can be better. It can be worse. The animal will go up or down in value depending on how it changes. So, and a lot of people buy a Neo, and they want to see that change. Like, it's almost like buying a lottery ticket, and I don't know, it's just lots of different ways to skin the cat. And I certainly could not hold a significant number of Neos, until they changed from the last few years. I just have found it best for my model to release a bunch of Neos. And if they change and they turn awesome, that's great. That's even better for me and for, my marketing of the animals. So I think there's lots of different ways to skin the cat.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I hatched 54 babies in 2022. And at the very end of 2021, I hatched 14. So I kind of had 66 babies. And you know how much they shit when they're babies. So it's a lot of work.
I because I was hearing about, like, leading up to my last recent clutch that I had that went my way. Like, I was hearing about how much babies shit, and like, dude, they shit a lot. Like, holy cow. And they shit pretty quick after they eat.
Yeah.
Which shout to Aiden Bradley. We're talking about how he He only had a couple meals. My bad. I said 3, but it didn't confirm. He only had 2 meals pre-shed, pre-post first shed. And I can't remember what you like to approach when it comes to feeding your neonates their first meal, Dave. If you can, do you like to do pre-shed, pre-first shed if you can, or do you like to wait?
I wait. I've done the pre-shed meal thing once, but they're so rubbery after they hatch. So
yeah,
you give them a few days to kind of firm up, and then they go opaque. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like a good time to feed them. Also seems pretty unnatural. If you had a shitload of babies, it would be good to check some off your list, though. Just take away at them. That's the upside.
Yeah, I mean, why not? If one's ready to go, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt. But like Marshall said, I think Marshall tried all of them and was like, "Fuck this."
I tried about half, made it through about half, and I got a couple strikes and one that kind of striked and dropped and grabbed it, and the rest of them just zero interest at all. So I felt it was better to not stress them.
Eugene was we had Eugene on, and he was a big fan of trying to feed them pre-shed. He said like, well, if you can get them to eat pre-shed, then you're just good to go. My experience has been the opposite. In fact, some of my most problematic feeders were when I did feed them pre-shed and they ate, and you think, well, it's a slam dunk, and then they went on to just be poor feeders after that. So I'm kind of like Dave. I've experimented with feeding pre-shed, but I go post-shed now, usually 3 to 5 to 7 days after they shed.
Yeah, it's not hard to freak them out and ruin their willingness to feed. A couple years ago, I had a clutch, and I fed a baby for the first time, and it was swallowing. It had the head down its throat. And I thought, all right, this is great. I'm just going to slide the tub back in the rack, and I'm going to feed the next one. And it dropped it, and I never got that thing to eat again.
Never ate again? Yeah.
Never ate again.
No way. Like literally never ate again.
I've had similar experiences, and closing that tub too early will drive you absolutely crazy, And so I've described this technique before where I feed them and I literally just freeze. My hands are just frozen until they get that whole thing down. And it can be 10 or 12 minutes where you don't move a freaking muscle until it's eaten that pink. And then you close the tub, and you're successful. But God, it is so frustrating when, like you said, they have that thing halfway down and you start to try to close that tub and boom, it spits it out. And you just want to freaking kick yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a mistake for sure. That's why it's helpful to be sitting when you do it.
Oh my God, yes.
Or get that chair Bill has, man. He has that rolling chair, right, Bill? You use that rolling chair, Bill? Yeah. It gets me real low, down there, and I can get comfortable and stay comfortable for 15 minutes if I need to. What about the higher ones? You just bring the tub to the floor? Is that what you do? Yep, absolutely. Just bring them down, and then once it's eaten, push it back up to the top and bring the next one down so it's right at eye level. Yeah. What's crazy is I get it. Like I'm accident prone, like I'm a klutz, and it's so fucking crazy how easily you can fuck something up being a klutz, like with a chondro, like neonates. Like for instance, like what I kept doing, and I don't know because I was so zoned in on trying to feed them, but I would fucking pull the tub out too much, and it would almost there had been a couple times I had to catch the tub, and I'm like, what the fuck? And there has been times where just taking the perch out of the tub, like it does like a little, it almost sticks to the tub, so I almost have to pull it off, and then like it knocks the whole chondro off the perch, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened right now? And so I don't know, man. Like I felt like I definitely had a lot of fucking bonehead moments. Even though all these babies ate, I feel like I probably should have lost at least 3 of these with the way I dropped the tub by accident, or just fucking not paying attention, or maybe overly paying attention. I think you could say it. I don't know, but man, stressful shit, bro. Like it's even if they eat, it could be stressful. Yeah, there's just so many ways that they can fuck you over. It's just one of the things you learn after you've just done it so many times, and even when you think you've got it figured out, they'll still fuck you. Just the whole like the whole room for air is so goddamn minimal, and it's like you find out like a simple air you think would be simple is not so simple sometimes. And I don't know. I got to ask you guys this question: have you ever had a Neo that like shit out a lot of like urates, like always a lot of white shit happening? Like it almost seems like it's over calcified, but it's not. But you ever have a Neo that shits out a lot of urates, like more than the brown shit? Any of you guys?
I haven't really seen that. I'm just used to seeing, just the black ink dot, where you go, God, I'm glad that one didn't prolapse because that shit looks terrible.
Yeah, like there was even one time where like this specific Neo I'm talking about was definitely one of my problem feeders for sure. But once I got it going, like it like almost would like get urate stuck in its fucking cloaca, and it wouldn't prolapse, but I would see it drying by the cloaca, and I'm like, what is like why didn't you shit that out? And it almost is like chalky or like rocky in a sense. And I don't, I have no clue what that comes from or why that is happening specifically with that Neo. So I'm not sure if any of you guys ever had a Neo like
keeping them over water. You can see, I think like maybe some stuff that would get lost if you had them on paper towels, because you open the tub and you see something just kind of moving around in the water. Not necessarily like hard urates, but I don't know what else it would be. I mean, it's not, it's not brown. It's like a little jellyfish or something swimming around in the bottom of the
this shit's straight
bottom
crust.
of the baby tub.
Yeah, it's not jelly at all. It's like literally like urates that I'm like almost having to pick out of this fucking snake's cloaca sometimes. Because you'll see it perched, and I'm like, is that a urate sticking out of your cloaca? And like I almost have to like pull it out for it. And I don't know if it's just having digestive issues. Again, this was definitely one of my runny ones and, problem starters, but it's fine eating. But sometimes I go in and it's like, the fuck you do to your cage? Like, what the fuck? Like, there's white urates everywhere, like on the perch. It's dried. It's even on the snake's body. Like, they're like, he like shits on himself. And it's like,
it's probably that gecko. It's probably all those geckos you're feeding it.
No, this thing is well into fuzzies at this point. It's not even eating geckos. And I thought about that too. I'm like, was it because I did start this thing off geckos? Like that's definitely what I had to get this thing started on, but didn't have, well, I guess, I don't know. I can't really remember. Maybe it always had that weird digestive thing. Who knows?
It doesn't sound ideal.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I'm just waiting to come in and see it down on the floor at some point. But till then, keep fucking rocking, right?
Keep going. Do what you do.
I'm not going to post it for sale. I'll tell you that much. But I got a question for you, Dave. At the point of you usually selling your neonates, or I don't even want to call them neonates. I want to piss off Patrick, but the yearlings that you're selling, what are they usually on at that point? Are they on hopper mice, small mice? Where are they at about in a year, 2 years of you growing them up?
Generally small mice at about a year. And then by the time they're 2, they're easily eating adult mice.
Cool. And your mice. I'm sorry, say that again. No, go ahead.
By 18 months, they're probably on large adult mice.
18 months. Okay. And your mice all the way through, from what I remember, right? You don't do rats. You're just mice.
I feed my females rats exclusively now.
Okay. Everything else mice, like the males and the smaller ones that you're growing up. Those are all mice.
Yeah, for my females that are about 3 years old, I feed them mostly soft furs. But the males just eat mice.
What does your collection look like now, Dave? Like, what are you looking at, like total adult animals?
Probably 40 adults. And then I kept about 25 holdbacks from 2022. So all those snakes are about 3 years old now. So I have some babies and yearlings. I have about 120 chondros.
Oh, it's a lot.
I love that number. Good number. I want to break 100. I'm far from it, but that'd be cool. I know Patrick's well into the hundreds. Marshall, you're like what? You're about 30 chondros? No, like less. Adults? Less than that, right?
No, yeah, less adults.
15 or something like that. Adult breeders, right?
Probably like, I don't know, maybe even less than that. A dozen breeders, and then 7 or 8 2.5-year-olds, and then a couple of 1-year-olds, and a bunch of babies.
What are you looking to hold back? Like in a perfect world, let's say they all get to the point of establishing and they're, you got all what you have now. How many would you really want to hold back, you think, Marshall?
I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, like, I got to thinking about the entire collection, I mean, because as you saw, there's a bunch of other stuff here too. So, in an ideal world, it would be, the whole room would be chondros, maybe a couple of basins, and that's it.
Just a couple.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, if I had to pick, if it got to where I had to pick space for chondros or basins, I would just have a couple basins, and it would be mostly, I don't need 15 basins. I'd be happy with a trio or something like that. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, adult wise, if I didn't have 120 something adult ball pythons to take care of, I would love to see the numbers get double or triple what I have now.
I for sure want 15 basins. Just throwing it out there. Just affirmation. I want 15 basins.
Yeah, but you're greedy, MJ.
I am very greedy. Yes, I want it all. And I know, Dave, you don't just work with chondros. Obviously, I know you keep Bolins, right? You have Bolin eye, or no?
Yep, Bolins. I have some Highland Scrubs from James Opdahl.
Nice.
I have some Western Sanzinia.
From who?
A guy on Morph Market. I can't remember his name right now. They're pretty nice though. A lot of the Westerns are kind of gray and shitty looking, but he posted his adults and they have a lot of yellow. So I got 2.3 of those that I'm raising up. They're pretty sweet. They barely move. They're like ball pythons in that regard.
Are they on the ground a lot or on the perch? Where do you see them?
They do both.
You still have your rough scales, Dave?
No, I don't have those anymore.
I still have several. Well, I have two from, I got rough scales from you a long time ago.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then I have the Moluccans, siblings to yours, MJ.
Nice. You have a pair?
Yeah, he's Xanthic male and a yellow female.
Nice. I have the opposite, an Xanthic female and a gold male. How are yours turning out?
Good. Yeah.
Are they big? Is your female big or no?
No, I've seen other people who have clutch mates. Mine are probably the smallest that I've seen.
I mean, I gotta show you my girl. She's small. My Xanthic girl's pretty small, and I thought I could bump her up on a meal, and it just didn't work out. And I'm like, fucking cut that idea out, and just keeping her on medium rats. She looks fine. I don't know. What are you feeding your females? Your adult female?
They're on small mediums now.
Okay.
How old are those?
Going on 5. 2020,
Are they
right?
how-
2021. My bad. They're 2021s, right? Patrick, tell us, please.
Yeah, and they hatched in the fall, so I don't know. Maybe they're 4 now. I don't know.
They got to either be. Yeah, go ahead, Marshall. Yeah, 2021.
How big? How old do they have to be, or how big do they have to be?
I mean, they're ready now if they wanted to. But I don't know. I think size is. I don't know. Here's the thing. I talked to Steven a lot about this, and he's very adamant about size being a factor. But then you talk to Nick Mutton and other people who are like, they don't need to be big. They're not supposed to be big, and so go off age. I would think if they're 2021, they should be ready to party at this point. You would think.
Mine are. I'm on a 7-year plan for mine.
Yeah, I mean, you would think. I don't know. Me neither. I don't have any, I'm in no rush to pair these up whatsoever. And I don't know. I mean, I don't. It would be cool to have some sort of different blood, I guess. But, I guess I'll do the brother-sister thing if I had to. I just don't know how that would work out. I guess if you don't have a choice, right, you have to go sibling to sibling.
Yeah, it'd be nice if someone else got a clutch.
Yeah.
What about with your chondros, Dave? What do you go by age when you decide to pair males and females? You going by age and not size?
Yeah. I got a clutch from a 4-year-old this year. I think that's the only 4-year-old I bred.
Yeah.
Everything else has been 5 or older.
Yeah.
I have so many that I'm not in a hurry. I have way more than I need, so I don't need to breed a 3-year-old or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm in the same position. No rush. It would be nice with some of these though. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Like just for instance, you just thing with breeding, right? Things could go wrong, and then next thing you know, this thing that you really love to look at is no longer here. I'm not trying to get dark. I'm just saying it could happen. Sucks.
Yeah, that's why you need a bunch of them. You need backups.
You need the number. When you have numbers, that whole depressing thing goes away really quick. Like it's like, yeah, you're bummed out, but you just go back to what you have, and you know what I mean. You move on. But when you don't have anything, that's when things can get kind of shitty.
I said it a long time, MJ. It's definitely Chondros is a numbers game.
Yeah, for sure.
Just it's a numbers game, and
it helps
having
you
those
learn.
mature.
Go ahead, Dave.
It helps you learn that way too. If you can get some reps in, then you can figure out what works and doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, we think about how easy ball pythons are because normally when you get into ball pythons, you are getting numbers. Like you're usually once you start, really getting into things, your second, third year, you're producing 15, 20 clutches and you get an idea and ovulations and it becomes like second nature because everything that you see. And it's the same thing with chondros. You get the fucking numbers on your side. And yeah, it could take a few years to kind of get any success, but you're witnessing a lot of things that you just got to pay attention to. But mind you, got to pay attention to it. Like you still got to, I feel like you still got to obsess over it. Like, I guess people definitely have their ways of just buying something, raising it up, and they put them together 4 years later and they get success, But I got to tell you, man, that I smell some people who've had first year success that are struggling this year. I really do. And I feel like that's where people really kind of fucking slow down is when they have success 1 year and the next year they're not seeing what they were seeing the year before. They're not seeing the locks. They're not seeing the same action. And that's when things could that's when you could get a wrench thrown into the mix. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if someone has a small collection and they have early success, then if they don't have the numbers, it's even more difficult to have repeat success. I definitely was pretty cocky after my first clutch because everything went smoothly. I thought, oh, this is easy.
Yeah, that's the whole. That's a dangerous game about having success on your first clutch. Is you're like, dude, these contra guys are idiots. Like you're just like you think you figured everything out, and it's like, all right, just wait, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And it always proves to be like, but mind you, like I mean, I guess I don't know. Success is good to have, but then also like reminding yourself that look, next year could be a whole nother ball game, and even the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that. Like, I don't know, Dave, have you ever had like consistent? Like, have you ever had like 4 years straight success? Has that ever happened to you? Like talking outstanding numbers for 4 years straight?
No, not outstanding numbers. I've had a clutch every year since 2015, though, so this is my 11th year breeding them. And
I think that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, that's a good streak.
Yeah, sure.
I did 14 in a row, and then on 15, nothing. Crapped out.
And why was that, Marshall? Just because the move, or what was it?
No, this was way before the move. Yeah. I say way before. It was
like 3 years, 4 years before the move.
Yeah. I don't remember why. Sometimes it's like they just didn't. Nothing went that year for whatever reason.
And Bill, how do you feel like your back-to-back repeat success has been overall? Like, do you feel like it's still kind of been not as consistent as you want it to be, or how do you feel about like year after year success for you?
I've been fortunate, kind of like Dave. Since 2010, I've produced at least one clutch every year, except the year that I moved and I didn't pair anything.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, when I'm pairing 12 or 13 females, then I'm going to be successful even in my worst year. I'm going to have a couple of clutches. So I've been pretty consistent, and over the last several years, my consistency has been even more consistent, and I've I've learned the animals. I think, I feel like I try to learn more every year. When to be patient, when to push them, when to breed them back to back, when to back off. So yeah, I've been fortunate. There's a lot of, as any of you guys will know, there is a bit of luck involved in this. Sometimes you make your own luck, but basically it comes down to a lot of stuff that you are not in control of. And you can do everything right, and these animals don't produce, or they slug out, or you get a clutch that just are terrible feeders, but over the long term, when you have an adequate number, especially of females that are breeding successfully for you, then you're going to have success. And some years are going to be better than others.
Yep. I mean, they say ride your waves when you can, right? I mean, because they come and go. From what I understand,
no doubt. Marshall can attest to that. He had a couple of dry years or whatever, and then the move, and then now all of a sudden, he's back in business. So it takes longevity, it takes persistence, it takes patience,
and it takes not giving a fuck, huh, Marshall?
Marshall does give a fuck.
I just meant though, he is though. His jaded side. Like, he tries to disconnect the emotion, even though we know down deep inside he has it. But
to be successful, you have to disassociate the emotions with this.
That's right. Yeah, you won't last otherwise.
You will not last if you ride a bad year and it just eats on your nerves, man. That's just the death of you.
Yeah,
I saw some of your posts. Pictures using your ultrasound, Bill. Is that a tool that you find useful for pairing? I think you mentioned that you use it to confirm that a female is gravid. Have you started using it earlier in the process?
Not really, because it basically doesn't change anything. Like the ball python guys, they'll have a male and they'll breed it to 6 or 8 different females, and they're looking for that ideal follicle size to put that male in and try to get 1 or 2 locks and be done. With the chondros, when you're a male to a female or a male to 2 females, I don't think it provides as much information. But it is nice, when a female goes off food, to throw the ultrasound on her and, oh shit, she's got big follicles, So I still use it as a confirmation tool, mostly, not as like, oh, I need to get a male in because this female has, a certain size follicle.
Okay.
It's not going to change anything for me. I'm going to keep pairing them,
Sure.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, maybe you put a male in there that doesn't want to breed though, because sometimes that happens. The female's growing follicles.
And still no action.
Then you would know, I got to get a different male in there.
That's an excellent point, and I have in fact done that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
And also that a female might be ready and you not know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even to that, but even to what Dave's saying to that, Marshall, like, you could have a female ready, but the male just isn't feeling it. Like, and that's why you got to have that. First and foremost, you got to notice that's happening, and you got to see if there's another male that wants to tap it. And I got to tell you, I've had not a lot, but I've had that where I switched to males and the male went straight to town. So I know that whole compatibility thing is for sure a real deal thing when it comes to the chondros. Some males just don't want nothing to do with certain females for whatever reason.
I would say the one thing that you have to be careful about when you do that is sometimes that male that you don't think is locking, and you just haven't caught it. And if you throw another male in there and then they lock, and then you go, well, now, it can throw a wrench into potentially who the sire of the clutch is. So I really try not to do that, because and Marshall can attest to this. I'm sure Dave can. I've had many clutches where I've witnessed either a one and done or I've never witnessed a lock.
Yeah.
So, you have to be, I think you just have to be careful doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember on the MVF, you get crucified if you talked about putting a different male in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I started using cameras a lot more this year. I think that's a pretty helpful tool. And a few years ago, I had a friend who used cameras. It's probably, 6-7 years ago. And he had a pretty bad year. And he thought the infrared that the cameras were emitting spooked the females and caused them to slug out. So after that, I was a little bit gun shy.
Interesting.
I knew some other people who were using cameras, but I use them quite a bit this year. It's pretty cool. And then for my nest box, I get these pine boxes off of Amazon that you can finish and put jewelry in or whatever.
Mhm.
But I get a hole saw, and I cut a hole in the top, and that's what I use for the nest box. But then once the female goes in there, I'll get a glass baking dish and put it on that hole, and then I get the webcam and I point it straight down. Then you could just watch her. And I saw a few females lay this year, so that's pretty cool. You don't have to pull it out and shake them up and freak them out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm geeking out over these pine boxes on Amazon. These look clean. Even though I'm pretty like content with how I do the whole process with the
there you go. That's very similar.
That's clean as shit right there. That's not bad. But yeah, I don't know. Me and Marshall, we kind of went the Ryan Young technique as far as putting them in a rack system. And do you feel like you're going to switch that technique, Marshall? Or you're going to stick to that?
No, I'm sticking with it.
Me too.
Yeah, I might do that also.
You know, Buddy just puts a Home Depot bucket in with them, you know, like no towels, no substrate, no nothing. He just puts a bucket in there, and if they won't go in the bucket, he locks them in the bucket, you know.
Yeah.
So
I always just gave a nest box. I have like 10 of them. Had to move them out of the way to get to something the other day down in the like storage area of my room, and I use them for years, and it's great when they go in there. But you know, it's nice when you put them in the rack and not have to worry about it.
Yeah. I've become a big proponent of locking them in that nest box because I've had several females lay on top of the nest box or drop them off the side of the nest box, and you know, if they're not going in there regularly and staying in there, I lock them in.
Yeah, I've had girls like not even give a fuck, like they're cruising everywhere and they're not going in the nest box, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And so I feel like maybe it's something where maybe some girls don't realize what that box is there for, and so it gives them too much to to overthink about versus putting them in a dark area contained, and they have no choice but to chill the fuck out. Like you're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Almost in a sense of locking them in. It's the same thing, right, Bill? Like you're locking them in. You know,
same thing. If you put them in a rack like Marshall does, that's the same thing as locking them in. You know, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to do anything with those eggs. They're going to lay them. The only thing is, you know, are they going to coil on them or not? And you know, even if they don't, they're not going to damage the egg. You know,
right. All right, listen, we're going to get to some more topics here, but before we do, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Diversity when it comes to a reptile diet, I feel like is so important. So this is why I'm proud to announce today's sponsor, Blake Exotic Feeders over in Florida.
What is up, everybody? Blake here, the owner of Blake's Exotic Feeders. We have all quail available at all times, produced here at my ranch from button day old, from Coturnic day old, all the way to extra large Coturnic quail. If you guys have any questions, DM on Instagram. Appreciate the support, you guys. Make sure you guys hit me up. We have all the quail like I mentioned, and everything is shipped right here from my house.
If you want the #1 quail sent to your doorstep and more importantly fed to your reptile, no better company than to go to than Blake Exotic Feeders. #1 quality in quail, hands down, and I gotta tell you, my reptiles love it just as much. It'll give you a peace of mind to know that these quail are grown on his property and it's not bought third party. Head over to his website, Blake Exotic Animal Ranch, to place your order, or you could just hit him up directly on Instagram. Let him know that the Trap sent you and he'll take extra good care of you. Thank you so much, Blake, for supporting the Trap, and also thank you so much for sending me top quality homegrown quail for my animals. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, it's Gary Scavino over at GS Reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Choo! Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website. See what he has available, green tree python wise, and be ready for quite the 2025 Green Tree Python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the Green Tree Python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the Green Tree Python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the trap. One of the biggest growths we have in the reptile industry today are the rare species of reptiles that aren't worked with. That's right. That's why I went ahead and partnered up again with Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles. Brian works with species such as kahua geckos, gargoyle geckos, all species of tree monitors. He works with abronia and many other cool species geckos that you can check out all on his website. Head over to sundownreptiles.com, see what he has available. Brian's one of the best doing it in the reptile industry today. He's been on the show multiple times, so make sure you check out all of Brian Susan's episodes on Trap Talk Reptile Network. But more importantly, for the highest quality of captive bred reptiles, make sure you head over to sundownreptiles.com and make sure you give him a follow on Instagram. Thank you again, Brian Susan over at SUNDOWN Reptiles. So, Dave, to get back on the topic of, your females laying and whatnot, how's your confidence been overall with hatching out your eggs? Like, obviously, if you get a good clutch, are you noticing a lot of these going the distance? Are you having 50-50, 70% success of them hatching? Like, what's going on currently when it comes to you hatching out a chondro?
Generally speaking, most of them hatch. But I think I heard Bill say that he had an entire clutch crash this year, and I had that happen. I've had that happen before. So some of that is unrelated to incubation. I think the eggs just have issues. The embryos had issues. The female was probably exposed to something or didn't receive something that she should have. But yeah, it varies quite a bit.
It's hard to see, Dave. It's hard to see when you have a clutch that gets laid and you candle those eggs and they all look great. I've had clutches where you candle them and there's minimal vein or you don't really see an embryo. But when you have a clutch that just looks great, and to see that clutch crash is a different hurt, than when you see eggs that are questionable.
Yeah. And I've definitely had that happen. Perfect looking eggs, 100% fertile, the whole clutch, and they look great. The shells are nice and smooth. And they can lay slugs. The female can die before even laying slugs, and then you can get a fertile clutch and they all go wet within a couple days, or they can all look great until right before hatch and all the baby, and then they get wet and die, or the hatch day comes and all the babies are deformed. There's a whole range of opportunities for these things to go to shit.
Yeah.
What's your incubation technique? Are you doing them just over water, or what kind of egg box are you using? Go through that.
Yeah, I never had a lot of success using water. Like some other people, I found the eggs would dry out if I incubated them over water. So I have a Forma scientific incubator. It holds humidity really well. I put a pan of water in the bottom to keep the chamber really humid. I use a 15-quart Sterilite tub for an egg box. And I either put the eggs directly on vermiculite, mixed 1-to-1 by weight water to vermiculite, or I like the grids that come with sim containers. Those are helpful to keep eggs from rolling. So if I don't put them directly in the vermiculite, I'll set those on top of the vermiculite. And then the incubator is set to 87. I have holes, one hole on each side of the egg box. It's not quite a 1/4 inch. I don't know how big it is. Maybe 1/5 of an inch. And I'll leave a couple of them uncovered during incubation because my incubator is humidified.
Yeah.
And at the end, I'll take the tape off the other two.
Yeah.
What about going backwards a little bit? What about preparing your females in particular to breed? Are you cycling? Are you food cycling, temperature cycling, light cycling? What are you doing?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of things over the years, and I think that in and of itself is problematic because these things do not like change.
Yeah.
So I think I'm getting dialed into what I'm going to be doing moving forward. But this last year, I switched more to an ambient regime.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that because
Me too.
it
Less heat, like less involving like the actual panels, right? Like that's why I felt better doing mostly ambient because I'm not powering that panel inside that box as much as I need to, you know?
yeah, you could have a cage that's really humid, but right under that panel, the way that
Dries.
the temperature gradients and humidity works, if you put a cold can in a room, you're going to get condensation on that can. So if you have you're going to have kind of the opposite effect with a heat panel. So
Yep.
if you get rid of that, the whole cage stays humidified. And also, so if you have a cage that's warmer than the room it's in, all that humidity is going to constantly be drawn out of that cage through the vents because things are trying to reach equilibrium.
It's contradicting to the whole point of getting humidity in that enclosure. And that's something that was fucking me for like 4 years. Like these damn panels have just been blasting, you know what I mean? And not intentionally, like I have it set to the temperature, but people don't understand when it's morning time and those panels go on, they're fucking fully blasted for at least an hour or so. And like that whole time of them getting up to heat, drying the shit out of your enclosure. And you can sit there and spray all you want. If that snake chooses to stay under that panel, it's going to have a suck shed. 100%. Doesn't matter. And I learned that with my emerald. It sucked.
There are a couple functions on Herpstats that you could try if you're going to use panels. There's the max power.
Yeah.
You could set it to 50%, and then Bill said the ramping. So you could have it work up to that temperature over an hour or two. Or I think some people do almost the whole day where it slowly raises to the peak during the middle of the day, and then it slowly drops down. But to answer your question, Bill, this year I've had pretty good success keeping my room. A lot of this was inspired by Ryan. So I let my room get pretty warm during the summer, 85, 86. And then at night it would naturally drop to about 80. And then when it came time to pair, I set the heater to 83. It's getting to 83. And I have the heater on the highest setting is 1500 watts. So it heats up the room within an hour or two. So most of for 10 hours, it's probably 83. And then it cuts off and it drops pretty quickly because it's cold here. And then it drops down to about 73. And then once my females are gravid, or there were a couple where I could tell they were looking for heat even before they ovulated, I gave them a basking spot of 85, 86.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You kind of, that's why I like bigger cages when I'm breeding females, like 3 foot or 4 foot cages, because you can see what they're looking for and what they're needing. And certainly if I see a female that's just on the heat all the time, I'm more likely to bump that warm spot up. But if they're never on the heat, then I'm more likely to decrease that warm spot.
Yeah.
And
right.
If you have a 2 by 2 by 2 cube, you're essentially with a heat panel, you're essentially getting no gradient, right? It's like maybe 83 on the warm side and 80 on the cool side. You're not getting any kind of gradient at all, which I think is great for males. But when you're trying to breed females, I really like to see a 5 or 6 degree gradient and monitor their behavior during the breeding cycle.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
Because right, shout out to Ryan, because Ryan was also a huge influence on why I switched things up. And like, it's normal for your snake to move. Like, your snake should be moving, and if your snake's not moving, that's a problem. And I noticed when I had these heat panels going the way they were going, I didn't see much action at all. Like, maybe at nighttime I would see them move, but like they would always go back to the same spot. Every morning I would come back in, there they are, right under the panel. Every time, right under the panel. And until I actually started using less panel and giving them only certain time of the day where that panel turns on, dude, they're using, like, they're on the cold side, they're on the warm side, they're on the lower perch, they're on the top perch. Like, I'm kind of seeing like behavior that I like to see, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's why those panels, man, you just, and the whole ramping thing, I didn't even know. I think might have saw that feature, but just went right over my head. But the whole ramping thing too, that could have been a huge factor. But for me, I just know I'm happier using less panels, period. Like, unless that girl is gravid and there's something going on, I don't want to use that panel. I rather, because where I live in San Diego, dude, right now my weather's perfect. My room gets to 83 naturally, without me doing anything. And then I crack a window at night, and by the time I wake up in the morning, my room's 73, 72. And you know, just that's it. And there's no heat panels, and there's no, I think I have it set to like 72. The panels are set to like, in case it gets super, super cold, which it doesn't. As long as I have the window cracked, the coldest it's going to get in my room is like low 70s. So I just some people should really consider where they live. And if you have good weather, take advantage of that, because you don't have to use so much fucking heat that you're thinking that you need to use.
Yeah, I'm not using panels at all right now, unless the female's gravid. That's what I've been doing this year. We'll see how my eggs turn out and all that. But
yeah,
my observation was turn off the panels, and the snakes, they all have a spot where they like to sit in the cage. It could be the front perch, the back perch. It could be left, right. It could be center. I turn off the panels. They sat in the same spot, which made me wonder how much thought they put into this at all. And I'm kind of thinking they don't really, they're not active baskers in the wild. They're cryptic. The temperatures are probably pretty consistent. They probably like to stay in the shade. So
yeah,
I think uniform temperatures are good.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bowen's pythons,
they bask.
And I try to keep them like chondros, and I had quite a few regurges, and that seems to be a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
With Bowens, and I cranked up their heat, and
now you're good.
And so they're all these pythons are not the same, and I think chondros don't really bask unless they're gravid.
No, I mean, I've talked to Ari about this, and just like, you know, the ideal Bowen python cage should have a place that's in the 90s for it to bask, and then we're talking like low 70s to high 60s on like the opposite side of the cage, or somewhere with that gradient, like for the most part all the time. Like I feel like that's important to a species like bull and eye. And even with emeralds, I think boas bask. I really do, because now that I also changed the whole way I turned the panel on for the boas, I'm realizing they need that at least 4 hours of 90 to 93 basking, and we'll use it for however many minutes, and then they switch to the cold side when they're over it. And I'm seeing, that's one thing that I'm really happy seeing, because I got a Gravid emerald, and last year my Gravid emerald didn't move at all, dude. Like stayed fucking same spot until like the last few days, and then started stretching out her body. But this girl, every day, it's like clockwork. 8 a.m. when that panel turns on, she's there for about 45 minutes, and then she goes to the cool side. Now I'm noticing there's some days where she's there for a couple hours and then she moves, but it's at her leisure. Like she has that when she needs it for those 4 hours. And then as soon as that panel turns off, it's still about 84 ambient in that enclosure till about nighttime, where it gets down to like 74, 73. So yeah. Yeah, there's some of these.
I mean, doing a night drop is important too. Obviously, the cooler you get them at night, the hotter you can let them get during the day, even if it's not all day. You know, you ramp power, or you just turn the panels on for 5 hours or 4 hours or whatever. As long as they reach that peak daily temperature, but you can let it get much cooler at night if you're giving them those basking spots during the day.
Yeah, I think that's key. And Marshall, you taught me that a long time ago when I was first getting into breeding. You know, you were really one of my mentors, because I knew you were keeping ball pythons, in the same room as your green trees. And, you taught me to turn those heat panels off at night, let them just absolutely no heat at all. Let them get down to 70 degrees for 10 or 12 hours a night. And even after they ovulate, I don't give them excessive heat at night. I let that cage get down cool at night.
Yeah.
And they're able to warm up during the day. But that's just has really worked well for me.
Yeah, same. I don't treat the Gravid females any differently. I don't turn the panels on or leave them on. They just, all my stuff is set to get, set the same pretty much year round.
Yeah.
So have you had any ovulations this year yet, Dave, with any chondros?
Yep, I have 3 clutches incubating.
Nice.
I have one that's on day 52, so they're going to be hatching today or tomorrow probably.
How many eggs?
She laid 14 eggs and 3 slugs.
Nice. And how do the 14 look now?
One of them turned wet 2 days ago. So then I thought, oh shit, this is not good. But no others have turned wet. So
Okay.
we'll see. They're kind of small eggs. So probably have little tiny babies in them.
Is there a werewolf over there? What's happening? What's
I think they've got a French bulldog. There he is.
It is a werewolf.
There's one of them.
I think Dave's getting attacked, but he's so emotionless he just won't show it. Like
There's the other one.
Oh, that's so cute. Look at that thing. Oh my lord. You breed pups or no?
No.
Okay. That's a weird game right there. Beautiful dogs. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, I'll kick him out if they continue. They're dicks.
Sounds like Tasmanian devil.
No shit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So that egg that was turning wet a couple days ago, it's okay, or you tossed it, or what happened? I'm sorry, it went by my head.
I'm sure I'm 100% sure it's dead, but I didn't even open the incubator. It's just it's chilling with the other ones.
Yeah, I was at Marshall's house about 2 weeks ago. We were looking at his eggs, and there was maybe one or two that looked wet, and I was like, my hand was shaking, looking for scissors, and I'm like, dude, and Marshall's like, I was like, Marshall, cut that wet egg right there. I was like, Patrick taught me it's either dead or it's trying to come out. He's like, fuck no, I'm not cutting it. I'm like, God damn it. And he put the lid back on, and that's it. I didn't get my way that day.
Speaking of cutting, do you cut eggs, Dave, after like what is your practice on when they start to pip?
Yeah, I generally do. I'll wait until one or two of them pip and pip the others. I did have a clutch where I let them all pip themselves, and I think using vermiculite, that's more of a possibility because the shells stay soft.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Did you pip, Marshall?
I did after like I don't know, 24 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Most of them at that point, I would say I had to pip less than half of them.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, like at least half the heads were sticking out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for you, Dave, like, do you let them all emerge and then you like to place them in their own individual enclosure, or do you let them be for a bit? Like, well, how do you like to like disperse them after they're fully out of the egg?
Yeah, once they crawl out fully, and I won't even necessarily wait for all of them to emerge from their shells. I'll put them in their own tubs. And one thing that I do that is a little different, it's not super exciting, but I don't put an perch in my egg box because it just makes it harder to remove them. They're so delicate. I don't want to pry these things off a perch. I can just pick them up because they have nothing to cling to.
Yeah,
I did find that letting them crawl out, like there was several that like I don't know if it hurt anything or not, but like the vermiculite, it was stuck all over them. And I had one that who knows if it, was destined to die anyway, but it had a big chunk of vermiculite stuck in its mouth, and it was like halfway out of the egg. So I don't know if like, if that did it, like how did it get vermiculite in its mouth to begin with? But could have just been, on its way out anyway. But I did find one like that. You just wonder if it like sticks to them like that, can it dehydrate them? And I guess the answer is probably not, because the vermiculite's, moist.
Wet.
So, yeah. But
hey, Dave, I was going to ask Dave, do you have a breeding season? Are you pairing like, at particular times of the year, or are you just like kind of gauging what your females are doing and you're pairing them based on that, or kind of what's your formula?
Yeah, most of the action is in the fall. I'll start pairing around October, and then they're normally stop breeding sometime in December. And then I have had some spring clutches, but I have a female right now who bred quite a bit in January, and that's probably a first for me, because normally it's either the fall or it's late spring. But she bred a lot in January, and then she went into shed, and I thought, okay, once she sheds, I'm going to feed her a couple times, and then I'll pair her some more. But she went off feed immediately after shedding, which I thought was weird, and I was going to ask you guys about that if you've ever had that. But now she's definitely growing follicles. She's probably going to ovulate in 2 or 3 weeks. But I don't know. I don't know if it's likely she's going to skip her prelay because she shed, didn't eat anything, and I don't know. There isn't going to be much reason for her to shed.
Okay, so hold on, Dave. So she shed, then she went off food, is what you're saying?
Yeah, a few days later.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I thought about not too long ago. Wanted to bring it up to Bill and Marshall, as far as that, how that works for you guys. Like, how are you noticing your females shed before they actually ovulate? Like, what's usually the timeline normally? And I was wondering with that, Bill, do you pay attention, Bill, like when their shed is before they ovulate, like how long that gap is typically?
Yeah, most of them are pretty consistent. Once they have that shed, then they're gonna ovulate. Once they've ovulated and they have a consistent shed, then you can, have a pretty reliable date of when they're going to lay. But a lot of times, these things, you either you miss the ovulation or you miss the shed, and then you don't really know where you are. But Marshall and I have talked about this before. I've never had a female that's been actively breeding that goes off feed and has not laid a clutch. I can't think of a time that's ever happened. So I think whether they, like in Dave's situation, she had that shed early. She very well may miss her post-ovulation shed, or she could shed again. But I think the fact that she's gone off feed is really it's a very high likelihood she's gravid.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had that situation that I can think of where they've kind of gone into a shed and then come out of it and stop feeding. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look through records, but you wonder sometimes how much of all this is timing related. The fact that you can have a one and done clutch versus a pair that has been together for 3 months, and you stop counting at 20 locks and they produce nothing, and then you put together for one night and you get a nice clutch. So timing is a lot.
Yeah, they're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, like didn't John say his female fucking ate after ovulation or something like that? It was like something weird where he had a female eat like after the ovulation or after post ovulation shed or something like that, and it was like pretty bizarre.
I've had that happen in ball python females, but I've never had that with a green tree female.
Yeah, I hadn't either. I've never had a gravid female eat. Period.
Yeah. I've heard of it, haven't experienced it.
But this whole shed thing, that's why I feel like, as much as some things could be consistent with females, some females, well, that shit's out the window. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, it's on that female. Like, and I got to tell you, a female that doesn't give me a prelay shed, I have like PTSD now because of it. You know what I mean? And so now I'm going to think, God damn, any snake that doesn't give me a fucking prelay shed is going to either be egg bound or something's up with it. I'm definitely going to be more like cautious of soaking it and making sure it's hydrated, but I'm never going to just look at a snake skipping its prelay shed as like a normal situation. I'm going to be cautious about it for sure.
Yeah, it's not I don't think it's a good sign. I think Bill said that he's had 100% fertile clutches in that situation, but
I have for sure. Multiple clutches that have done that. They can really mess with you. Marshall, I know you've had this experience, where you didn't know a female was gravid, right? Like, and she laid eggs.
No, because they've always been off food. So like I've never had one lay that wasn't off food. I have missed ovulations before. But if a female has gone off food, I'm always, antennas are up. Like, okay, what's going on? Did I miss ovulation? And 100% of the time in my however many years I've been doing this, if a female goes off and she's not sick, right? A female that has been bred that stops eating, you're going to get either slugs or you're going to get a healthy clutch. But I've never been necessarily surprised by eggs, just because the fact that like females generally don't stop eating.
Yeah, I've been surprised.
Once they were sick.
I've been surprised on a female that I never witnessed a lock. She went off food, but I thought she was dying. She was cruising her cage, and never witnessed a lock. Didn't witness an ovulation. She didn't have a shed. And I walk into my room, and she's on the perch, and there's 2 eggs on the ground. So yeah, I've seen it. I've been fooled. Yeah, they can fool you.
So what did you do? Just take pictures and post them on Facebook, or did you shove her in a box?
I grabbed that girl and put her in a nest box, and she went on to lay the rest of the clutch. And one of the 2 eggs that she dropped from the perch survived. The other one didn't. But I was just lucky because I'd been in that room 2 hours earlier, and she was looking like she was going to die. I went out 2 hours later, and there's 2 eggs, on the ground.
Damn.
Yeah,
I had that happen once. The female laid 13 days post shed, so that kind of threw me off because I had a rule of day 14, locking them in a box if they're not in there. But she laid 13 days.
And where did she lay? Did she lay off the perch, or did she get on the ground and lay, or what?
She laid from the perch, and some of the eggs were on the box. Most of them hatched.
Yeah,
they didn't drop very far, but that's obviously not ideal.
No, it's not.
And then going back a little bit, we were talking about locking up females so they don't do this. But I also think it's important when you see them cruising around so they don't damage the eggs while they're inside the female, because if you watch them, they're frantic. And I heard females fall from their perches over and over and over. And there's no way that's good for the eggs.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. That's a good point. Like, one of the things I noticed with my female that didn't give me a pre-lay shed, she was cruising like I was looking at, because normally it's about 30 days, I would say, is when they shed from the ovulation. Typically, it's from what I've noticed. But then I noticed she wasn't going to give me a shed, and instantly she was fucking cruising everywhere, but like falling off, like she was like climbing up the glass and then falling over, and like I could tell she wanted to get the fuck out of there or was looking for something. So that's when I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna not wait a week as I normally do. Like, normally I'll wait like a week after they give the shed to put them in the rack. But she just looked like she was so like panicking. I was like, I'm just gonna put you away. But that's a good point. I wonder if all that tossing and turning and like looking for something is like rumbling shit inside her. You know what I mean? But I don't know. My girl was just completely backed up, and I didn't notice it. I didn't notice that she wasn't shitting normally, because I'm normally like obsessed over my emerald shitting, and my chondros shit like when they need a shit. But this female had a bunch of urates and like old dark shit in her that I can't say it caused the egg bound, but
probably did.
I'm assuming, like I said, we can't 100% tell it for sure, but I'm like in the 90%, pretty sure that's what it was. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's all another reason too. It's kind of like, well, first and foremost, like I'm definitely tracking my female's shit, like especially a girl that's pairing. I want to make sure she's shitting on the regular. But again, if I have a female that's not going to give me a pre-lay shed, I'm soaking the shit out of that female. Like, I'm making sure it's hydrated, and I'm pretty sure soaking from anytime I ever soaked a chondro that hasn't shit, it always shits. Like, that's always like an indicator to help that thing shit. Spraying, moving it around, or soaking it. You know what I mean? And I didn't do that with that snake because I didn't think it was an issue. But
Dave, are you a fan of soaking your females? Let's say they're gravid. Are you a fan of soaking them a couple of times before they lay, or you don't?
Yeah, if I lock them in the box, I'll take them out every 3 or 4 days and put them in a tub with some water so they have the opportunity to drink. But I've noticed that they probably only drink 25% of the time. 1 out of every 4 or 5 females will drink. The other ones are just wondering why they're stuck in this box with water. How about you?
I like to soak my females. If I know their cycle and I've seen an ovulation and they, I see their shed, I like to soak them 2 or 3 times before they lay.
For how long, Bill?
Overnight, usually.
Overnight?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You just don't. I just don't want to get caught in that scenario where she's really close to laying and you soak her and then she could, lay in the soak. That's never happened to me. So
Yeah.
if there's ever any question, then of where she is, I won't soak them. But that's the exception and not the rule. Most of the time, I know where they are. I've seen an ovulation. I've seen them go into shed, and I'll soak them. Probably 3 times between that ovulation and when they lay.
Wow. So, and how soon are you waiting to soak them after they give you that shed, Bill? Like, is it pretty quick, or do you just give them a couple days, or how are you delegating that?
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason. Just, usually after a few days after they shed, then I'll soak them. Because in my experience, once they're gravid, they do not leave that heat.
Yeah.
They just won't leave the heat. So if I know where they are, I'm confident in soaking them, hydrating them. If I don't know where they are, then I don't. Because I don't want to get eggs in a soak box, but
eggs.
But I think it helps to soak them. But I definitely need to know where they are to do that.
What about you, Marshall? What's your idea on soaking a female before she lays?
I've done both. I usually don't soak them anymore, but I also, I routinely see all my snakes drinking water, either from the bowl or a lot of times I'll wet the bottom of the cage down and I'll come in the room a little bit after lights out and they've got like a, bowl of clean water next to them, but they're trying to drink off the floor of the cage, because I just soaked it. But I do routinely see them drinking. If I have soaked them when they're about to lay, it's usually right after the pre-lay shed. And I don't take the water bowl out until even when I've got them locked in the ball python, even when I've got them locked in a rack, I still leave the water bowl in there up until 14 days after. Just because if you get eggs before that day, they're likely not going to be great. It's not going to be a great clutch anyway. So I'll give them up until 2 weeks after pre-lay shed. I'll leave the water bowl in there with them. So if they want to drink, they can.
Your tubs have the little cup holders, right? Your bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it possible to spill those?
Nah, you can't spill them. Now they could get in them.
Don't lay in them.
Really?
Yeah, they could get, if they put their body in the cup, it can make it overflow. So you just kind of fill it up halfway, Yeah. And it's minimal. Plus there's cocoa in there. I do put some substrate. So I mean, anything that most of the time they're gonna kind of hollow out a little spot or push the cocoa out of the way right over where the heat tape is. Make a little, to where they can get right on the plastic where it's the warmest. And so, if any water did spill out, the cocoa right around the water bowl would absorb it before it ever got to that spot.
Marshall, what temperatures are you keeping that, those tubs in, like when those females, so you put them in the tub, and you're temp gunning the warm spot, what temperature are you looking
84.
for?
84 on the warm spot. And I've done it the last 2 years now, and 3 out of 3 females that I've done that on have all
laid perfect.
I mean, they've all gone to the hot spot, coiled up on the hot spot, laid on the hot spot.
Yeah.
Is that the temp of the bottom of the tub, or is that the temp of the cocoa? Do they burn?
No. That's the bottom of the tub, which will equate to basically the snake being able to get that warm. If there's no substrate between the snake and the plastic, it can almost get to 84. The snake can. No, they just basically clear a spot out.
Okay.
Yeah, they
they'll
push it out.
Just like a ball python female would, right? They push all that substrate out of the way. Yeah, and they would take that heat if you put it on 90. They would lay on that temperature at 90.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with those temps, right? For sure.
Yeah. Where do you keep your probe, Marshall, in that rack system? Is it on the heat tape or is it somewhere in the tub?
It's on. I have they have those whatever they that's like a metal panel or whatever with flex watt in it, and then it's got some bubble wrap or some kind of insulation on the bottom of it to kind of keep all the heat in it. But the probe is not in the tub. The probe is in between 2 tubs on the heat tape.
But you're not setting it to 84, are you? Or you set it to 84?
Yeah.
So then,
Oh
so,
no, I don't know. I don't go by what the thermostat says. I go by what the
Temp gun, right?
yeah, what the temp gun says. So the thermostat might read 89 or 87 or whatever.
Sure. Right.
But I'm going off what the temp gun shows.
Yeah. Okay. Important to know that too, because people place their probes differently sometimes.
Well, and some people think just because you set the thermostat at a certain temperature that's what the perch is going to be, or that's what the cage is going to be, and that certainly is not the case. You have to measure, that the temperature. You can't just go by what the thermostat says.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Are you paying attention, Dave? Like how quickly your females are laying after they shed? Is it typically like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I know it kind of ranges for people. I know it's like 40 to 50 days post ovulation. So I'm curious what it is for you.
Yeah, generally they shed about 29, 30 days after ovulation, and then they'll lay for my more fertile clutches, the better clutches, it's close to 20 days. It's 48 to 50 days. It's on the later end, and I think that's because of the night drop.
Yeah.
And not giving them a crazy warm basking spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Changes the whole dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all temperature related.
Yeah. So,
and the longer they go afterwards too, the more likely that you're going to get good eggs.
Yeah.
If they lay,
Yeah.
if they lay before 2 weeks after the pre-lay shed, then they're slugs most of the time.
Yeah, Gary just had that experience. He shared
his mini football, his mini footballs. You gotta love it. You gotta love his humor, man. That guy. I gotta tell you, man. It's let's just show off my sponsor's clutch that he posted.
Only Gary.
You know what this? Any of you guys remember Ace Ventura? And remember when he's at Ray Finkel's mom's house and she had those little mini football cookies? That's what it reminds me of, dude. Oh my god!
I don't remember that, but I mean, 4 slugs is pathetic. When I get 14 slugs, 4 slugs is pathetic.
I wonder if that female has more in her. I mean, because that's a minimal amount of slugs in a big female, right? You would think she has more in her.
You would think.
She probably started reabsorbing, and that's all that was left.
Maybe.
Yeah, you hope so.
Yeah.
I've had some tiny clutches. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay. I got a wrap up question for you, Dave, and then we'll get to Marshall and Bill's wrap up question.
Okay.
Really, for my question, Dave, I just got to ask you, like, again, going back to people having, first year success, second year, not really sure what's going on. And I feel like a lot of it could get like getting your female back, like, like, especially if it's a female that laid for you before and you want her to go again for you. And I feel like it really depends on how you bounce that female back. For you, if you have a female that lays for you, Dave, obviously you get her back on food, but is there a time and place, like summertime, where you're not feeding at all? Like, is there a cutoff time on feeding when it comes to a certain point of the year, or what are you doing for females that you're trying to get back going and getting ready for the year, either the next year or the year after, or however you like to space it out?
I think it depends on if I'm trying to breed the female back to back. If she bred the previous year, I'm probably not going to get a good opportunity to take her off food. But I did. Let's see here. I did food cycle a little bit this year when my room was warm. I stopped feeding them, but I know everybody does it differently. There's got to be one way that's the right way. So I'm trying to figure out what that is. Whether, to me, thinking about what the Barkers said in one of their books, the reproductive process starts long before the snakes are paired. So I think feeding them heavy before you're going to pair them makes sense, because it triggers their body to start building follicles, versus feeding them heavily while they're paired. And I'm kind of rambling. I forget what your question was.
No, Dave, I agree 100%. I think so much of the success is due to conditioning the female. And that takes months before you start the pairing, whether you're going to do temperature cycling or food cycling. I really think it's important to condition your female. It's much more complex than just putting in the male in with the female, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to it was Kenny Richichi, I think, who said this. Maybe it was Vin, because I know they do things similarly. But Kenny said that he food cycles. He feeds heavily in the summer because that's the monsoon season, and so when it's raining, there's more vegetation, there's more animals around, and that happens actually when it's warm. It doesn't happen when it's cold.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. That's how I've based my feed cycling. But Marshall, you did the complete opposite this year and had success.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
also
I did.
look at the time of year he did it though. He did it in the fall, which is still like
No, I did it in the summer.
He did it in the summer.
Summer, yeah. My
Yeah.
bad. Clutches in fall. Yeah, so I mean that kind of goes back to Dave's point. He was still, even though he had a shut-off period, he started feeding during the times where normally where they're out, they're eating right now. Yeah, interesting. You know what's funny? I had this conversation years ago with Brian Barczyk. Man, rest in peace, Brian Barczyk. But we were talking ball pythons at the time, but he explained that exact same thing. Like during the dry season, there's not much availability for these things to eat, but once rain starts to drop and vegetation comes from the ground, things start to come around and are moving, and that's when they take advantage and go ape shit and eat as much as they possibly can before it all goes away again.
Yeah, we in captivity we really can't mimic the monsoon season. We can't mimic that, but what we can mimic is temperature control and when we offer food.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I agree.
But also too, Bill, to what Dave was saying, like regardless of what we control in the room, whatever's happening outside the room, I feel like the snakes could still feel, right?
No
doubt. Like if it's a super hot day, no matter what you have the temps in here, they can kind of feel that what's happening outside.
Or a drop in the barometric pressure, when a storm system moves in, or a sudden cold snap comes in. Absolutely, they can sense that.
Right. And that's why it's like all confusing sometimes, because I mean, Bill, even with your ultrasound, I'm sure you're seeing females that aren't building during times other females are. I feel like some females are just on different time lengths and they're on different schedules, and like no matter what you do to become seasonal, you're never going to get that girl to lay if you don't fucking pair her when she's ready. I feel like. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I think you can control some of that to a degree. But absolutely, I've had females that have not followed my cycling recipe for sure.
Yeah.
Once I move, I'm thinking about treating all my chondros the same, except for food cycling. I'll do one group of females where I feed them heavily where they're cooled, and another during the summer when it's warm, and then see how that shakes out. But if people have success both ways, but I think something Bill said was that you have to look at the timing. Like sure people are having success both ways, but are the people who are feeding more heavily in the winter triggering them later, and so they're getting clutches in May versus me who's getting clutches in December?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've had enough people on this show in particular that have produced chondros in all different times of year,
every month of the year,
all different zones of the United States.
Totally.
I wish we could figure them out. I wish there was a magic formula. There's not. I think Bill, the only thing to figure out is your own collection. Like that's the only thing you could really figure out is like where you live, how you're running the show at your own fucking place, and finding out that female, because that's the only way. It's like, I don't know, every like, you can listen to how you do things, Bill, how Marshall, how you do things, and Dave, but it's like you guys do things because you fill your room. That's what you guys are filling out. And I think everyone's situation is different. I really do. Especially depending where they live. You know what I mean? No doubt.
Like, yeah, you can listen to every podcast, which I respect. I love anyone who obsesses over these Tuesday nights, but man, there's just some things you just got to figure out on your own, and you're gonna find out. So, But yeah, okay. And so real quick, before we get to Bill Marshall, right, you're heading into not feeding as much right now then, right, Dave? Since we're getting into the springtime, are you not feeding your adults as much right now? Or what do you, or does everything just stay the same feeding schedule wise?
Well, I'm trying to figure out the fuck I'm doing, what my plan is moving forward. And then once I figure that out, I'm going to stick to it.
Well, Dave, it's not like you've been doing this for a couple of years. You mean you haven't figured it out yet?
What the fuck, dude?
I'm a tinkerer. So I think I'm probably going to start feeding lightly in the spring and the fall, heavily in the summer, and then very little in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
I think I'm going to do that for sure. All right. Bill or Marshall wants to go next?
I'll go before I forget my question. Dave, what is the last animal you've brought into your facility?
Last year I bought 3 chondros. I got 2 from David Brahms.
Nice. Damn. Go Dave.
Maniquis, some of his Maniquari stuff?
They have Maniquari in them, but they also have they have some Prada Maniquari, and then they had some Vinsky in there. This is something, I'm blanking on the names. He's done the clutch pair. He's got 3 clutches from the same adults, and a lot of them had a decent amount of blue. So the plan with those was to use them to outcross with some of my blue line stuff.
Did you buy those as unchanged neos or yearlings or?
Yeah, they were babies. Yeah, and I remember the adults now. Dr. Jones and Mako, I think, are what he calls his.
Yeah,
so I'm hoping they're female.
Dr. Jones and Mako, he's right there.
Yeah.
Right on.
Patrick knowing our collections better than we know them.
And then I got a baby from James Opdahl from 2 adults with decent melanism.
Nice.
So just stuff to kind of breed into the stuff I already have.
Fantastic.
All right, Marshall, what you got?
So you jarred my memory earlier. The first snake that you got from me was the I'm pretty sure it was a Versace to Calico Dream. Was the blue yearling female. So that means that if you have, and I'm pretty sure you at least got 1 clutch out of that snake, or if not more. Mm-hmm. Do you have any descendants from it where you could try for an albino project?
I do. Yeah, I got 2 clutches from that female, and Bill just got that baby from Steven Saltzman. So the sire of Steven's clutch came from your female, Marshall.
There you go. Bill, you got a pos head.
Yeah, you got a pos head. It's like a 12.5% or something.
So you're saying I'm in the game?
Yeah,
you're in it. You're in the game, bro.
So I'm the only asshole not in the game, is what you're saying. Fucking cool, dude. Thanks, Marshall.
So have you tried breeding any of those back to each other?
Yeah, I bred 66% to a 50% from Rico.
Okay.
And it was a shitty clutch. I only got 4 good eggs. Actually, I think 5 good eggs. Only 2 of them survived. All the babies were yellow, though. And so I was wondering if it was a Partho clutch, just because I had assumed, probably incorrectly, that the male was red dominant. But even if he wasn't, the odds of 5 babies from a red snake being all yellow, I think is 3%. I did the math, 50% for one, 25% for the second, 12.5 for the third, 6 for the fourth, and 3 for the fifth. It's kind of how it breaks down. So I think it might have been a Partho clutch, but yeah, none of them were albino. And I sent them to our friend here in the chat, Patrick, because he has some other possible heads.
You sent the whole entire clutch to Patrick?
No, I sent my 2 adults that produced that clutch.
Son of a bitch. No wonder Patrick has 100+ fucking chondros.
Yep.
If you're sending him stuff. Yeah, listen. Do you ever have any ambitions of breeding another yellow neonate, Dave?
No, those are the only ones I've ever had.
That's it. So that ship is sold for you, is what you're saying.
Probably. Yeah, that was the Pos hat from Rico was the only yellow I purchased.
I love it. Great episode, man. I gotta tell you, the 2 hours went by really fast. Glad to have you on here. Are you going to be going to Tinley in March? What's your schedule like for shows this year?
Not March. Maybe October. And I was going to try and go to the Pomona show. Is that in June?
So you're going to come to Trap Fest this year. Last year you missed it, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to try and make it. I think John and Brian Fisher are going to come too. So
all right, dude. Fucking
what about September or Dallas NARBC? You've never been to one of my parties.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd be down for that.
Put it on the calendar, bro.
I won't make it to Daytona this year. I have to go to my brother-in-law's wedding, but those other shows are likely.
Sick. It isn't Patrick, from what I know, he's coming too in June.
Okay.
I think so. Right, Patrick? Because you were talking about how, like, I'm going to prove the point about Tex-Mex is not as good as real Mexican food in San Diego. Pretty sure that's what we're taking care of, finally. Thank God, which is, I don't even know how that's an argument. But anyways, Dave, I appreciate your time as always. Best place for people to follow your work. Would it be Instagram or Facebook? Where do you prefer people to kind of follow what you have going on?
Instagram. I don't post on my Facebook page anymore.
And you got a new logo too. Respect. When did you get that?
I've had it for a while. Some guys that I work with made it. It's not the best looking logo, but if you look at my website, it's a GIF. So the snake will change different colors. It's yellow and then it's black and then it's blue. So
cool.
What's up with some merch? You're going out with some shirts or anything? Let me get a shirt.
Yeah, I don't have any merch. I should make some merch.
You and Marshall, I don't know what the
fuck. Yeah, you and Marshall both.
I got one vintage Red Mountain Herp shirt that's like on its last leg, but that's all I got because fucking Marshall won't come out with more.
Yeah.
So
he had koozies. He was handing out koozies not too long ago.
He has koozies.
I know. I'm out. I'm actually out. I'm out of koozies. I got plenty of stickers. But
yeah, I took a stack of stickers. By the way, and whoever wants a Red Mountain Herp sticker, leave a comment, and I might send you one because I took like this much from Marshall. So just so you know, I have a lot of stickers. No, but cool. I'll put the link to your Instagram in the description below, and can't wait to have you back on Trap Talk because I know it's going to happen at some point. So, guys, do me a favor, go give him a follow and give it up. It's a wrap for Dave D, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a good one.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good to see you all.
Thanks for coming on, Dave.
Anytime.
Hey, Dave, we'll talk more, Dave, about Trap Fest and whatnot. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
later,
peace. Good to have you, buddy. Good episode, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, I knew it would be wealth of information. He's got the history. He's got it all. You know, he's just he's one of the best.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got the snakes do the talking with him.
Very much. Yeah, he'll talk to you like at some point, but he rather you just listen to what he's posting on his Instagram because that shit is loud. I got to tell you, man, it's some of the best work, if not the best work out there. Like you don't see stuff like that.
I wish he'd post more,
especially that many. Like you just go and it's like it's one after another, and they're so like, wildly different, and it's fucking crazy. But I mean, stars align for the guy. What are you gonna say?
Dave D,
for sure.
Dave fucking D, man. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, Red Mountain Herps on Instagram, and of course, Phoenix Reptiles, the mayor. Also subscribe to Bill's Instagram subscription that he has, killing it. I like the spotlights that you're doing for people, Bill. It's really awesome. So keep it up.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, but give it up. It's a wrap for Bill Stingle, Marshall Bandit. See you guys next week.
See you in a week, boys.
Later, guys.
Have a good night, boys. Talk to you soon, okay? Thank you so much for anyone who hung out. If this is your first time being here, do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's get the likes up right now. For Dave D, that was an awesome episode. Drop a comment in the comment section, too. If you want me to send you a Red Mountain Herp sticker and a Trap Talk shirt, drop a comment in the comment section. I'll pick a random one. Also, guys, before I let you guys go, if you're looking for exclusive content, you want to get more behind the scenes, you want to tap in with the trappers and people who are really in this for the long run, then come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You could do that by clicking the first link in the description below. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, there's an awesome Instagram group chat, an amazing Discord. So come tap in with us, man. Like I said, some of the greatest in the game. Appreciate all my Patreon members. You guys are my heart. Don't forget, Trap Talk Reptile Network, the only reptile network that is 7 days a week. Best believe it. Before I let you guys know, you know the deal. Set your reminder for the 2nd annual Reptile Breeder Show happening in downtown Los Angeles, March 1st, thrown by KG&D over at the Bomb Project. I happened to made it to the first show, and it was one of the best times I ever had at such a really cool, unique show. Make sure you set your reminders, and if you're in the SoCal area, I highly recommend you pull up to this show and see the kind of vendors that they have vending. Some of the top quality ball python productions and other really cool species of reptiles will be at this show. So again, the Reptile Breeder Show, the 2nd annual Reptile Breeder Show happening in downtown Los Angeles, March 1st. Please set your reminder. Go to the reptilebreedershow.com, get your ticket. Shout out to USARK and all USARK members. If you don't know what USARK is, don't be ashamed. Just go ahead and click the 3rd link in the description below. See what USARK is all about, okay? You never know when legislations are going to hit your backyard, so that's why it's very important to consider becoming a USARK member today. These numbers really do matter, and they look at it for consideration when it comes to battling legislation. So first and foremost, thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to anybody out there who partners up and volunteers with USARK organization. Thank you for anyone out there who's a USARK member. And if you can't become a USARK member today, please talk about it on your platforms. Let your neighbors know, let all your pet stores know what USARK is here for, and it's here to fight for our animal rights. Thank you to every USARK member and USARK supporter out there. True.